remain standing for the invitation. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity you give us to serve you and the people that we represent in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, our roll call, please.
Director James Ferriman.
Present.
Assistant Secretary Arlene Schaefer is excused from this meeting.
At this point, she's unaccounted for, as far as I know.
All right. Secretary Robert Uden.
Here.
Vice President Arthur Perry.
Here.
And President Michael Schaefer.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Scott, any ceremonial matters or presentations?
No, Mr. President.
Thank you. Late communications?
None, Mr. President.
Okay, then we'll move to public comments. We do have a request from Mr. Mosier. Would you like to come forward, sir?
Thank you, President Schaefer and members of the board. My name is Jim Mosier. One of the things I like about this district and its board is it's very good about transparency issues and very responsive. But one of the cornerstone transparency regulations we have in California is the Brown Act. And one of its main purposes when it was enacted in 1953 was to ensure that all local legislative bodies, of which this board is one, had a very clear, regular date and time at which they had the meetings for the regular business. This obviously is not the regular date or time. I do recall the board voting to change the date to this earlier date. To me, it's a little problematic to hold the regular meeting on a date before the public is expecting the regular meeting to be. It would be better to put it in a date later so that those who showed up at that time would know when it was. But the board did vote on that, so the public had a chance to provide any concerns they had, and the board could consider them in making that change of date. I was surprised to see the hour, though, also changed, and I don't recall the board ever voting to change the hour. And then I was even more surprised, just before coming here this afternoon to check on the date, to find that the agenda had been amended from what I thought was the agenda last week. So we have an unexpected date, unexpected time, and a slightly unexpected agenda. And as to the latter matter, I really think if we check the Brown Act, which has become much longer than it was in 1953, and is concerned about matters more than just having a regular date and time, it expects the agenda items to be noticed 72 hours in advance. And I think Melania has told me, well-intentioned as it may be, item D5 on the agenda was added just yesterday. And if that is correct, I think the board has to vote on that as an emergency item. And I can think of no reason why there would be an emergency regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier.
Can I have a question?
Yeah.
Scott, can we postpone D5 until next meeting?
Sure.
That's the main point that I was concerned about.
This is information only.
Is it information only?
It could have been handled as a special meeting if we gave 24 hours notice, but technically then, since we put it on a regular meeting notice, then it should have been 72 hours.
Is there any urgency to do it this evening? Or? So you're talking about the budget review? Correct. Okay, Jim?
I'd just like to point out the fact that this is an exception to the rule for us. We normally don't entertain this unless it's absolutely necessary, and there is a reason tonight for that too. So while I agree that we don't want to deceive anybody, I don't think that was our intent. And as a practice, we don't abuse it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that if you're going to postpone a meeting, you normally would do it later. But given the way the week's set up for October, we could not have done it later unless we did it on a Friday night or Halloween evening, and that probably would have been problematic had we done that. So that was really the only reason we moved it up. So, Wendy?
The item that was late in being submitted, just with the new software, got attached to the wrong meeting.
Got it.
And so when we recognized it wasn't there, we attached to the correct meeting more than 24 hours in advance.
Okay.
More than 72?
No.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move it.
Sure.
Oh, okay, great, thank you. Okay, consent calendar? I'm sorry, anybody else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing no one, we'll move the consent calendar.
I'll move it. Second.
The discussion?
With the exception of 5 or?
Well, that's in Scott's report,
Oh.
general manager's report.
Okay.
Any other comments? All right, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion to approve the consent calendar is voted on. It's unanimous. Mr. Mosier, I'm going to go ahead and recognize you.
Yeah, I submitted that comment card there.
Isn't it? I'm sorry, I looked right over it. Okay, then I'm going to back this up and pull item number 9.
Yeah, not really requesting a different action. Item number B9, on the consent calendar, has to do with the refund from a gentleman who's been assessed for many years for sewer service that was not provided to him. And it seemed entirely right and proper to me that he should get a refund since he received no service from the district. But I am a little confused, and I'm still even a little confused trying to understand the staff report, because I thought we had heard in the operations code, which is quoted in the staff report, is not written in really plain English that the public can understand about what the district's policy on refunds is. And I thought we had heard here previously that state law prohibited the district from paying anything more than 2 years in arrears after a claim was filed with the district. And I thought we'd actually heard a much stronger statement than that the board providing refunds for anything more than 2 years in the past was actually a gift of public funds, because the board was giving somebody something that was not authorized or required by state law. And it appears from this staff report maybe that opinion or policy is being changed. So I'm just bringing to the board's attention that perhaps the operations code needs to be clarified and perhaps put in plainer English, so that the board and the public knows what the refund policy is and what they can apply for.
Good, thank you. Any comments? Go ahead.
Mr. President? Yeah. Previously, our office had opined, based on state law, that we could provide for greater refunds. There was a new case and a legislative council's opinion that we did some research on, that we found that it really was a strict standard. But in the same case, the utility audit versus Los Angeles case, the court did approve of a board waiving the claim statute and providing a fuller refund, but the court upheld the fact that there was the restriction. So the board would be within its right to give the refund, but it should make a comment or a finding that it was doing so because it appeared to be the correct thing to do, and for goodwill of the public and things like that. That it's not a gift of public funds, but there is an issue about gift of public funds. I mean, you're waiving something you could stand on, but you do have the authority to do that when you're not giving it for a purely private purpose. So if you had a policy that in this case it was appropriate because of the extraordinary circumstances and that the person got no service, that you could make that finding, and I don't think you'd be challenged on that. But that issue has not been ever fully resolved in the law, that you could be remanded could issue against you for waiving the statute of limitations, but it's been upheld in some circumstances that you can waive the statute of limitations. So
Okay.
it's a little bit of a gray area, but you have the authority.
This is my staff report, and so we prepared it based on what we had done previously, and then district council made us aware of the change. However, as he said, that we didn't feel it was a gift of public funds because the funds were collected erroneously. We never prepared or provided services. They don't have the ability to have services, so we thought we would still go ahead with the.
That's a good. I think that's a good.
We also, staff feels that this is not opening us up to, I know we did one not too long ago that was very similar in this situation, but there's not that many properties within our jurisdiction that do not have sewer, so we're not opening ourselves up to a widespread, otherwise we would probably say they should have come back earlier.
And one other point, Mr. President, if I could, the ordinance is appropriate and consistent with the state law. There was a time we thought we needed to fix ordinance because it was not. But after the further research we did in the newer case that came out, and the research in the Legislative Council's Digest, it does appear our ordinance reads correctly now.
Okay, that answers the question I was going to ask.
Mine
Then,
too.
that do we need to bring this back and take a look at it? But obviously, if we're following state code, then we should be okay.
Unless the Supreme Court overrules that Court of Appeals decision and we have a new interpretation of the law,
Okay, very good.
or the legislature changes the law.
That was my question also.
Yeah, we think alike,
Yeah.
fortunately. Okay, no public hearings this evening, so Scott, we'll let you go right into your report, number one.
Yes.
Did you act on it, Madam?
I don't think we,
Yeah,
Oh, you did, okay.
well, it was part of the motion, we just brought it up separately.
did we approve the motion? Did we vote on the motion or not?
Yeah, 4-0.
Okay.
With one, I forgot to say, with one member missing. Okay, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. So the first item on our agenda report is the strategic plan quarterly progress report. So this is just your quarterly update to demonstrate to you and the public that your strategic plan is not on the shelf collecting dust, that we are working hard to achieving those goals and the mission and the vision of the strategic plan. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for staff? Scott?
Only one, the abandonment of the five pump station is 1.10, completion date of 2020. I think that has been abandoned, the plan has been abandoned.
Yes.
I don't know if 2020 is,
Well, that's why you'll see it's colored red. I mean, well,
Yeah.
we always call it delayed, but technically you're right. It's been discontinued, I guess you could say.
discontinued.
Yes.
Okay.
We probably ought to, is there a different mark you can give that, or completed, or?
We're discontinued.
Well, I think we
I don't know.
identify that this project as council identifies it in
Yeah.
this project council, and then we say we got reimbursed.
Well, maybe canceled is the word.
But I think,
We put a different color block in there, sure. we
well,
can.
I just, if someone from the public didn't know the process, and they looked at that, they would think we're still working on it until 2020.
Sure.
So what we can
Minor,
do,
minor,
yeah.
something major than me.
It's always, yeah, sure too. Okay, the manhole cover, but I know you guys are working on that, so I'm good with that. Anything else for Scott on this? Okay, receive and file, Scott.
Yes.
Item 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a request from staff to consider counseling your November 8th study session meeting. We are on track to move to the Paularino building on November 11th, which is Veterans Day. And so we think that week's going to be pretty hectic, getting ready to moving. This table alone will probably move before then. It's got to be cut in half, and it's going to take some time. We do have a special meeting on November 1st to talk about the results of the survey. So if you want to add anything on that agenda, we could do that. But my recommendation is to cancel the November 8th study session, and then we'll have our first official board meeting at the new building, at your regular November. Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Yes. No.
Makes sense then to just then call November 1st a study session? I mean, we typically schedule, and again, back to Mr. Mosier's comment about moving it up,
Yeah.
but after November 8th, we get into pretty heavy holidays and,
Yes.
and all that other stuff. And
Election day.
November 8th is?
Yeah, election day.
What do you guys think? You want to call November, do we need to even have a
Why
study
why
session?
can't we just call it a study session?
On November 1st?
And then having the agenda items that we need to add to that.
I think, I agree with Jim. I think that's what we got to do.
What day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, and it was agreed to meet at 9:30 on November 1st.
Which is our normal
Right,
study
that's
session
right.
time. Does that pose any problems to staff? If
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
very good. Item 3,
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to turn this over to Elizabeth Pham. She'll be giving this report.
Elizabeth.
Thank you, President Schaefer, fellow board members, and Scott. Per Section 40 of the agreement states that the district shall complete a annual performance review of trash services. As such, staff will provide a review of CNR's performance in 6 areas, and then our consultant will further elaborate on the review as well. So the first item is cost price control. The net to hauler payment for the review period was $17.13, which is 62 cents per unit less than the required county average. Therefore, CR&R is in compliance and has maintained the most favorable net to hauler rate for the district. The second item is the schedule control. as the organics program was implemented, the district received 42 complaints for missed trash pickups for organics only from June to August. Since then, the calls have significantly reduced, and CR&R has maintained the monthly complaint log and is responsive whenever a customer requests a pickup. The third item is the contract administration. CR&R promptly sends month-end reports to process. However, received April to June invoices with the incorrect organics rate, but CR&R was able to correct and credit the district back for errors. And we also had some errors with the occupancy reports, but we are resolving that with Wendy at the moment. Item number 4 is responsiveness to government. CR&R remains supportive of district events by supplying waste bins and informational flyers, such as the fish fry and the community run. Item number 5, contract compliance and operational requirements. The organics program began on June 22, 2015, and was fully implemented by August 14, 2015. Prior to implementation, the green waste was sent as ADC, and despite implementation, the AD facility wasn't operational until recently. Therefore, the organics collected from curbside collection were sent to 2 facilities for composting, and the tonnage reports indicate that 7,451.95 tons were diverted at these facilities. The master manifest substantiates a 57.69 diversion rate, and CR&R has exceeded the required 50% diversion rate as required in the agreement. Item number 6, key personnel. CR&R continuously maintains their employee policy and is therefore in compliance. And with that being said, I'd like to refer to Mike Ballier so he can present on the 26 items that he reviewed.
Great. Before I turn it over to you, Mike, I have just one question, really. Under item 2, you mentioned the 42 complaints.
Yes.
Can we get a list of those, or not, like a breakdown of what kind of complaints? So I think it'd be helpful to see what kind of complaints we're getting.
It was the missed organics.
So just all 42 were the missed.
We were, for that, during implementation, we were tracking how many missed pickups we were getting for organics.
Okay.
And they were strictly for organics.
Okay.
As a result, we had a lot of residents request exemptions because of the missed organics.
Got it. Lawrence, go ahead.
Mr. President and such. Also, it's sort of deceiving when you say missed pickups, because part of that could be people didn't put their carts out at the right time and we went and picked them up, so it would be categorized as a missed pickup. Some, so there are some other variables, so it wasn't necessarily that 43 were missed. It's just that's the coding that we use in order to get the truck to return to service, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to clarify that it's not necessarily a missed pickup.
Great.
And that's the coding we use whenever we get a call for a district that,
I just have a question to Scotty. Is the amount in our contract with CR&R for community events, is that still $10,000?
Correct.
Okay. Did they ever exceed that amount, or do we don't? Would they just do it?
They just cut us a check.
Okay.
Mike, good to see you again.
Could you
We're going to ask you to come up here because in the spirit of
I'm on
transparency,
camera.
we record everything.
No problem. All right, members of the board, my name is Mike Ballier. I am a consultant who has dealt with trash haulers, city compliance with state legislation since 1991. I reviewed your agreement, and there were 26 areas that were deemed worthy of audit and review to determine compliance. CR&R was in compliance with all of them. Basically, my report details all of that, and I won't bore you with too much of the detail, but I am available to answer questions. There were a couple areas that I wanted to bring to the board's attention. The first was with the organics. As of early September, when I was out at CR&R performing the review, the organics facility in Paris, the anaerobic digester, still wasn't online, but I believe it was coming online the next week or very shortly thereafter. They're still diverting materials, but it was through a Lakeview and an American composting facility and not through the digester. So that was one item. What I did to verify that is, as Elizabeth mentioned, a a lot of that green waste was going to alternative daily cover. The state's records are for calendar year 2015. There was roughly 18,000 tons of ADC at that point in time. My review of CRNR's manifest showed for the fiscal year about 10,000 tons of ADC in 2015, 2016, and 7,400 tons of organics being composted. So again, it matches with the reality check of independent state third-party numbers, as well as all the receipts that CRNR has shows all this tonnage went to the facilities that's on the master manifest. The diversion rate at 57.69%, all of the tonnage that's allocated to you from their records supports that data. The issue I did run into is that your monthly reports show a different material mix than the master manifest, and that's basically due to the fact that on a periodic basis, CRNR will do a waste composition study where they'll dump material out from your trucks, they'll sort it out, and they'll look at their line and what it's putting out, and they'll come up with percentages that they then use for your reports. In light of this new organics program, my suggestion is that they do another study of your black barrel, be everything dry, because obviously it's not syncing up well to what they're actually diverting. They're diverting the same amount, but the materials that they're reporting to you on a monthly basis aren't matching the end of the year manifest. So that was the other issue that I wanted you to notice. As far as the rate review, again, having been around for a while, I know some of the background with Orange County rates. The 1713 rate that I use is comparing apples to apples. You're one of the few cities right now that has a full organics program. Most cities do not. So if you were to include the cost of the organics program, your rate might be, $17.94 as opposed to $17.13. But again, that wouldn't be comparing apples to apples. Your agreement calls for the midpoint plus 10%, and they're 62 cents under that. There are some areas that aren't included in the contract to look at. City of Newport Beach, Newport Coast is a couple that come to mind, but keep in mind that if you look at the Newport Coast, there's several unincorporated county areas that are picked up by public services near Yorba Linda and all that, and they're very high rates. So any gain you might get, and let's add Newport Beach, potentially is offset there. So I'm confident that you're within that realm. The other thing to note is that City of Los Alamitos withheld a rate increase to their hauler because they didn't get their paperwork in time 2 years ago. That rate increase has now gone through. City of Irvine is tied to City of Los Alamitos. They get the lowest rate in the county. So when Los Alamitos goes up, Irvine's going up. So again, the baseline is going to shift in next year's review. And lastly, I think the real interest will come about when you have a third or more of the cities in the county that now start to have organics programs. Maybe that clause in your agreement needs to be revisited. But for right now, they've passed all 26 areas. You have a good responsive firm, and the rates are within the parameters of the agreement. With that, I will take any questions.
Okay. What is the lowest rate in the county?
It was $11.80, which was City of Los Alamitos. You had a few that popped up as very low. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, the City of Orange went out to bid. City of Los Alamitos went out to bid. It was very competitive. First time in the county that cities had gone out, and so that drove them down.
My second question is, do those same cities have commercial to offset the cost of the...
They do. Los Alamitos, not as much. Orange, significant. They have a very significant commercial area. So, Los Alamitos has a couple big businesses and all that, but more of a bedroom community, whereas Orange has significant industrial and commercial areas.
The comment you just made about first time in the county that somebody went out for bid?
Well, it was the first time in a while that Los Alamitos went out to bid. Brigham and Disposal had that from, I think, the 50s on. In Orange, it was formerly the Hambarian family that had that, and then Waste Management had taken that over. So those two were very competitive and contentious. I think there was a couple lawsuits out of Los Alamitos with that process. So trust me, the grass isn't always greener in that process.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But again, there was a missed rate increase submission that caused Los Alamitos to be delayed out a couple of years longer than it would have been, which caused Irvine to keep an 1179 rate because they're guaranteed the lowest in the county. Those are both going to change next year.
And then Laguna Woods isn't included. Is that because it's more of an association?
It's a 35-gallon cart. It's an all senior citizens community. Average age is 78, so it's not a really comparable service. And they have no green waste collection. They have a composting facility for their neighborhood and crews that collect and consolidate all the green waste.
And don't the residents of Laguna Woods pay for their trash through their association?
Yeah, they don't pay
fees?
directly either. It's all a common area maintenance fee that they pay.
Is Irvine the lowest because of volume?
Contractually with Waste Management in that agreement, they are to be the lowest rate in Orange County.
Because of the dump?
Oh, Jim.
The demographics of Newport Beach enter into the evaluation of their rate versus ours. Am I right about that? I mean, in regards to rental property?
Well, the challenge is initially they had city crews that collected, and it was billed along with their water bill, so they were never included because they were kind of a square peg in a round hole like Laguna Woods is.
Yeah.
Then when they went out to bid, with a 100% maximum occupancy rate and a flat rate billing from the hauler. So again, it's not a direct to customer. So that one's been left off just because it's a square peg in a round hole. But again, since it's a neighboring community, I figured it out, and it would result in about a 7-cent drop in that county average that you're comparing to, and you have a 62-cent gap right now, so it's not a big factor.
And that average or that drop doesn't account for the fact that they still pay the city a $3 recycling fee, right? Did you include that?
I included that in the rate.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But my understanding, if I may, so
Yes,
correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, so my understanding, the full occupancy in Newport Beach is less than 17,000, and so if you divide that by the monthly fee they get from CRNR, which is $312,000 a month, their net to hauling rate is kind of like $18 a month, I think.
Yeah, so in reality, no community is ever 100% occupied. It's less. And so, again, we don't have their specific occupancy rate. The only thing that we could find was actually the RFP that was used to get the bid, and that, in fact, used 100% occupancy rate. So that was the only published figure. I could have created one, but I kind of wanted to use something that was publicly available.
When I was trying to think through the rates and the rate comparisons, I thought the census does the census have any data? Well, the census has all kinds of data. I'm wondering if that would be a help in this comparison.
It could be. Again, my argument would be if you're going to include Newport Beach, I don't think it's going to make a big difference one way or another. And if you're talking Newport Coast or any areas that may or may not be in an incorporated jurisdiction, then you can't pick and choose. You have to do all the 6 different unincorporated county franchise, 4 or 5 of which are all very expensive. They're big horse lots like Yorba Linden, so that would further skew the numbers.
And why isn't Midway City in here? They part of Westminster?
I think they're in Westminster.
I assume they were either in with Westminster or Stanton, but it's Westminster, right?
It's Westminster.
Right. Mr. President, one more question.
Yes, sir.
So, we've been hearing that Newport Beach pays less than $12 a month. That's not accurate, correct?
No, because they have a separate charge for the recycling fee. So again,
That's the $3 that I mentioned.
Yeah.
So they're above 15.
Well, if you take the $3 charge, but I mean, I guess the argument we're hearing is that, hey, they went out to bid and look how much lower their price is. It's less than $12, but that's not accurate. Is what I'm saying.
Well, it's using 100% occupancy, but in fact, there's a lot more rental properties and vacation homes in Newport Beach, so their occupancy rate is probably in the low 90s or 80s. So once you start backing that out, or there's houses that are for sale that have sat, I would say you could use Costa Mesa's occupancy rate, but you're probably a little bit higher than Newport Beach.
You probably need to be ready to answer that question tomorrow.
We are.
Okay. I figured you would.
Good. Any other questions for Mike? Would you like to speak on this item, Mr. Mosier? I'm going to excuse
Let me
Mr.
clear out.
Thayer.
Thank you.
Always, Mike, thank you.
My house is for sale.
Thank you.
Good job.
Hang around in case there's
Yeah.
any for me.
You're part of that.
Clarity,
Skewing
President
it.
Schaefer, I am one of those infamous residents of Newport Beach, and I am someone who gets trash service from CR&R through the Newport Beach contract. And just for your understanding, there is no residential trash bill in Newport Beach. It was never on a water bill. The residents do not receive any bill at all for trash collection. It's considered to be included in the property tax.
Which is the same.
But it's not
Same
itemized,
cost.
it's not a property tax. It's just
Oh, okay.
considered to be, when you pay your property tax, it's considered to be a service
It's a general
included
fund.
in that.
It's a general fund.
It's a general fund.
It's paid out of the general fund.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, I guess I didn't realize that. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. Okay, anything else on this item? Again, receive and file? Or does an action item to accept the review, or do we need to accept it?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
clerk is indicating yes, so
Move for approval. Move for acceptance.
It's just
we have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
residents.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so that motion carries 4-0 with one member absent. Item 4, Scott?
Thank you, Mr. President. Wendy Davis will be getting this report.
Ms. Davis.
Thank you very much. Before you is the request to carry over appropriations.
Started in like
Gentlemen.
1980.
Gentlemen,
Okay, sorry.
if we could do it, if you need to talk, maybe out of the Go
Sorry
ahead.
about that.
No worries.
Before you is the request to carry over appropriations and encumbrances from the 2015-16 fiscal year into the 2016-17 fiscal year. The encumbrances or purchase orders that we entered into prior to the end of the fiscal year, but the contracts were not completed. So we wish those to be carried over and appropriated in the new year. The remaining carryover appropriations are mostly capital improvement projects in the sewer fund, as you can see, over $4 million. In the solid waste fund, the carryovers are for service projects that we were not able to undertake and feel that staff can undertake them this year and would like the money brought forward to the current fiscal year to be able to do the activities. One of the examples would be we're requesting the household hazardous waste in the special programs of the trash fund or solid waste fund, to be brought forward and used for the customer satisfaction survey. We budgeted the customer satisfaction survey in last year and this year. However, it was budgeted at a 10-90 split, and clearly the survey is a 50-50 split. So we need some additional funds brought forward to cover the expenditure in the trash fund. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff?
Move approval.
Second.
Any other discussion? No, sorry. Never mind. I figured it out. All right, I'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one member absent. Okay, Scott? Oh, I'm sorry, no, we're, number 5, we're going to carry over to the November meeting.
Correct.
Very good. Rob, we'll move to the project status report.
Thank you, Mr. President, board members. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Just a quick update on our Harbor Wilson force main. The drilling was successful last night. The pilot bore, well, I can pass around some pictures.
Great.
The pilot bore was drilled from the west side to the east side, and the reaming head was attached and started reaming its way backwards. And then that's where last night ended. Tonight they will ream the rest of the way, and meanwhile they're fusing the pipe, and they're going to pull the whole pipe in tonight. And then there's a little open cut to be done afterwards, and then tie in at both ends, and away we go.
How was traffic?
Not bad.
It wasn't, I drove by at 4 o'clock and I saw they had the whole thing blocked off. But, so they're halfway finished right now? Or more than half?
More than half.
That's pretty awesome.
Yes.
Glad you didn't wake me at 4 o'clock.
I was going to call you to come down and look.
Yeah, I bet you were going to call.
No, I thought the setup was real nice and they had the whole thing blocked off on
Right.
going east.
It looks really clean. I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, typically you think of all this stuff all over the place. It looks really clean.
I asked the question, how long now, once it's completed, do you have to take more time for the hookups?
Well, there's a little bit of open cut, probably about 30 feet of pipe that has to be laid by hand, trimmed and all that. And we're on a schedule where the city doesn't want us working Thursday nights, Friday nights, or Saturday nights. So we're going to go tonight and tomorrow night and then stop until Sunday night. So probably hookup would probably be sometime next week. And then move everything out, backfill, repave, restripe.
Did you, when you did your coring, to check to make sure, was there any negative things that you
Nope.
cored?
Our potholing worked out well, our profile worked great, and the pilot bore followed the profile precisely, and no problem at all.
Are you getting any inquiries from other agents? I mean, these projects that we're doing seem to be smooth, and I mean, other agencies should be taking notice because
I know. We've done a lot of different no-dig.
Yeah.
We pretty much run the gamut.
yeah, I think that's commendable.
Pipe bursting, horizontal directional drilling.
How do you feel about it, Mr. Engineer?
Well, I was reading Mesa Lucy 44 project, and they're going to use directional drilling to go into the San Ana River.
Is that right?
Now, the San Ana River is a little different.
Flowing
Well,
sand.
That's the reason the project got canceled, because of the San Ana River. And they're not too far away from where we canceled the project.
They better go look at that big black binder in Rod Thompson's office, which was the litigation binder.
Yeah.
Well, I wish the Orange County Flood Control District would take notice of how clean we are, because that channel that runs near my house that crosses California and then moves up to New Hampshire is a total mess. Our whole neighborhood has been full of dust for months, and they're paving that. Channel was previously unpaved; it was all natural, and they're paving the whole thing. And not only that, it's disrupted the rat population in my neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, it's awful. So, anyway, that's my political comment for the evening. Okay, Treasurer's not with us this evening. Is there any report or anything that we need to talk about under Mark? Okay. Alan?
Thanks, Mr. President. We do have some good news for you. As you know, we had a damaged pipe that Rob found on, I think it was Newport Avenue, where the Newport Boulevard, where the light pole went through our sewer line, and we were required to figure out how that happened. And it turned out that the state owned it at one time, and the city owned it at one time, and it was transfer agreements, and it's kind of complicated. There was a contractor, and the board determined we'd take the simple approach with it because it was only 30,000 something worth of damage, and so we filed, instead of going for a damage claim, we filed an inverse condemnation claim, which gave us the advantage of getting attorney's fees if we prevailed. But, we filed a complaint, and the state answered it, but they took notice of it and said, let's talk, let us investigate what you submitted. And Rob did some sleuthing work, and we went down and did a Public Records Act request, and we spent a morning going through documents, and we put together a packet and sent it to them, and lo and behold, they said, we accept your offer to settle. And the offer to settle included the attorney's fees spent to date, and it was $41,293.50, and this case settled before it even left the launching pad, so this was a tremendously successful event.
Preemptive strike.
Yeah.
Well,
So
thanks to
shot across the bow.
all of you that did that, because that's a nice accomplishment.
Alan did a great legal analysis of what it would take, and we followed the strategy, and it worked.
Very good. That's all fixed now. I mean, we have no more issues.
We
with
haven't
it.
fixed it yet.
Yeah.
This is the money to fix it. We need them to turn the electricity off to that pole.
Okay.
And then we're gonna remove it and fix the sewer.
When do you think you're gonna do that?
Alan.
It'll take a couple of months to get the check, and then
Okay.
Wendy will pay Rob. That's the way I think it'll happen.
Director,
That should give you some assurance, or good feelings about the capacity assurance, or the capacity of that line.
Right.
yeah, it's got a hole
Hole
in it.
in it.
Yeah,
And it's still,
that's still function.
Very good. Anything else for us this evening, sir?
That's-
Thank you.
The press release on that will go out tomorrow, Mr. President.
On that reward, or on that settlement?
Settlement, yeah.
Very good. Okay. We'll go to the local meetings then. Jim, sanitation?
My meeting's later this month, but we did take a tour of CR&R facility out in Paris, and I think we were all there, and I mean, it's very impressive to me. They've actually got the thing operating within the last couple of weeks. Yeah, that's going to be a very good project.
It's an impressive. It's an impressive facility. I'm really glad we were involved. So, one other thing on the OCSD, Arlene, Bob, and I attended the State of the District breakfast last Friday morning at OCSD, and nothing really to report other than they're operating and things are fine. And
those kind of things, the chairman has to grease his arm because he pats himself on the back of the district of Wentz. They talked about savings, and they were across the board. They were in staffing and energy and all kinds of things.
Well, they're also committed to the pension liability thing. They paid it
Yes,
off this time,
yes.
but that keeps rearing its ugly head. Every year it'll go forward,
Yeah.
and they're committed to pay it every year. So good for them.
yeah, very good.
Do they have a balance that's due right now?
No, they just
Yes,
paid
It's
it
all
off.
paid off?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think,
200 million or something like that.
yeah, I know, it was quite
It
a
was a big
sizable
number.
number.
I bet you're glad it's paid off. All right, thanks, Jim.
Yeah.
Sarfa? anything
There
to
was no
report?
meeting this month. It'll probably be next month.
Arlene just came in.
I think she thought the meeting was at 5:30. That was my guess. Then we'll skip the special district report till she gets here. ISDOC report. Nothing really to. Good evening. Let the record reflect that Director Arlene Schaefer, Assistant Secretary Arlene Schaefer is here now. You're almost up. You didn't get the notice of the meeting.
No.
Chief. We're glad you.
Subject might have a seat.
It's nice to see you. Glad you joined us. So with ISDOC, we had our regular executive committee meeting last week or week before, whenever it was. Nothing earth-shaking other than the newly elected directors all patted themselves on the back as well, including the new president. The immediate past president-elect was glad to turn over the reins, or will be glad to turn over the reins unless somebody
That's
else
not till
works.
January.
January. And the results of the election could obviously change the makeup of the ISDOC executive committee, so we'll see. Probably the biggest thing that we found out at ISDOC was the fact that the county of Orange has withdrawn from the OCOG. And so there's some discussion as to what's going to happen with OCOG, with the county not being involved. ISDOC, we didn't take any action to withdraw. There's very strong sentiment that we continue in OCOG. So we'll see. There was no legislative news because those guys aren't working right now, and fairly quick meeting at ISDOC, and that was it. So, Arlene, I'll let you get your thoughts together before you give the CSDA report.
Okay.
SDRMA, the only thing I'd report to you is we were all at the breakfast last week in San Diego, SDRMA Safety Breakfast. I will tell you all that I was not supportive of the speaker that we had at the breakfast. the fact that his music was really good. It was good, but he was not your typical motivational, wake you up, get you excited speaker. I mean, he's an excellent musician. He had some good points, but I saw him in Atlanta at the Prima conference or Parma conference, whichever one it was, and I just wasn't excited about it. I mean, so hopefully next year we'll have a more dynamic speaker. The one thing that was really gratifying that day was the luncheon, of course, when they gave out the awards, and I appreciate my fellow board members nominating me to be CSDA Board Member of the Year. But as Arlene said, the guy who won it had everything. The only thing he had above me was the Bible. And the fact that he was a minister must have swayed somebody. But he was the guy that got the Board Member of the Year was very deserving. Was he like 91 years old or something like that?
He was on his last term.
Yeah, I probably won't be on this board when I'm 91, no offense. But very deserving. But the highlight of the conference, the absolute highlight of the conference last week was our general manager receiving the brand newest award for CSD for what was it called? Come on.
Outstanding
Community Advocacy. I was trying to remember the name of the guy it was named after.
Him.
Do you remember?
Oh, Ralph Hine.
Ralph Hine, yeah.
Ralph Hine.
Mr. Hine was there, of course. I mean, you're obviously familiar with Ralph Hine.
Yeah. He was
Rob, I
around
know you-
forever.
Yeah. And he got up and he was very congratulatory to Scott. So, on behalf of all five of us, congratulations.
Good job.
Now with that said, you couldn't have done it without all this staff that you have, and I think that's as big a compliment to you as you have a staff that supports you and does the work that needs to be done for you to get that award. So, congratulations. We're all very proud of you, and let the record reflect that we expect you to get it again next year. So,
Thank you.
Mr. President, could
Yes, sir.
the rest of us find out what the award was for?
why don't we have the award recipient tell you what he was awarded for?
Yeah.
It was just helping CSDA advocacy issues, writing op-ed pieces in the Voice of OC, and we had another piece in the MSW Management Magazine, which is a solid waste magazine, goes out nationally, and just talking about special districts and the services that we provide and stuff. So
And writing to the legislators.
Writing to legislators, and the CSDA's had that big promotion of special districts making a difference, and so we were the first district to put their logo on our website, and you click on the logo, and then it goes to their website. So it's just really just promoting special districts.
Nice work.
Yeah, thanks.
That's what you mean.
I thought the first speaker at the
Excellent.
retreat was very good down there.
Well, with the last name of Schaefer, what would you expect?
Well, that having been said, we'll reconsider.
Some of you probably have heard of Ross Schaefer.
Ross Schaefer.
He was a TV celebrity let me rephrase that. There's at least a couple of you who've never heard of Ross Schaefer.
Oh.
You're not old enough.
I hadn't heard of it.
But he had a late night talk show, and he competed against David Letterman, and he's kind of an interesting guy, wasn't he?
He was very good.
I thought his talk was outstanding and
He was funny.
very,
Yeah.
very funny. And it's funny. I'm on the committee that picks those speakers, and when we had the meeting about picking the speakers with CSDA, he wasn't my choice. My choice was Bill Walton. And one of the other board members, Vince Ferrandi, and I pushed for Bill Walton. And, of course, all the non-sports people on that committee thought, who? So
I don't think
we made a good choice.
You couldn't have gotten anybody better than this.
I agree,
No.
Art. I thought he was
He
an
was excellent.
outstanding job.
Because I've heard Bill Walton before. So.
It was funny.
Yeah, he was really good. So,
My turn?
are you ready?
Yeah.
It's all yours.
First of all, I'm sorry. I didn't get any, I haven't been around. God.
We thought you were at The Price is Right today.
No, that's next week.
Okay.
Anyway, I just want to say a couple of things. First of all, on what Scott got, Ralph Hine Award, that's new, brand new, and he is the first to ever get this award. This is a big thing with CSDA because he's the first to ever get this. And he worked really hard with the staff and the legislators to deserve this award. And I mean, I didn't even know about it. They kept it a secret. I just got information and threw it at them. And had no idea. And I went to Neil and said, I didn't know this.
That was great.
But it was really good. And then the other thing I wanted to say was, I'm not on Facebook at all, but a friend of mine gave me this that Bob Hooten had done. Excellent. It was so excellent. I just want to give you all the
It's
credit.
been changed, but
What?
Whoa, whoa. What I'm gonna hand out has been changed.
Well, I thought it was excellent, and I really appreciated that. I thought it was really nice. And it's kind of sad how we're getting all this
Yeah, I just.
junk in the mail now of different
Well, then
people.
you're getting my junk from Facebook.
And unfortunately, people are just, they're putting all this stuff out.
Unemployed, yes, well.
Yeah, and it's really bad. So, anyway, the convention, or I should say the conference, pardon me, was excellent. It was really good. And all the workshops were good. And there was a guy there that took digital pictures, and so everybody forced me into, you gotta get a picture, and he's supposed to send me the one in the mail too, and I didn't know how it would look, but, it's cute, and we had it all on our stuff, so I had to share it. And aside from that, I did get re-elected as secretary on the executive board of CSDA, so that was really a nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And let's see what else. And it's too late now because the meeting's almost over, but I did bring the conference book for you to see, all of the things that there were, and the opening speaker and so forth. It was really very kickback and relaxing and
It
worthwhile.
was a good conference. I think one of the things on the professional development committee, I'm going to stress that they need to relook at the breakout sessions. There were a lot that weren't really relevant.
I know.
And I think
know.
there needs to be some work done there.
Yeah.
Probably one of the coolest things for me is I was sitting outside enjoying the fresh air, and there was a conference or a meeting going on of Vietnam veterans
Yeah,
from the Red Warriors.
yeah, they had a big
And
group.
I'm sitting outside, and this guy came out and looked like an older guy, but I knew he was from my generation because he was in Vietnam, in the mid to late 60s. And I talked to this guy for over an hour and a half. I mean, he was talking about PTSD and the issues that he had. And then he was telling me he lives just outside of International Falls, Minnesota. And if you watch the news, that's always the coldest place in the country. And he's got a home in Canada, and he was talking about it, and I thought, I don't remember what he did for a living, but he had a lot of money. He was telling me about his ice fishing, but it was really cool to see these veterans down there, and it was really
I was
cool.
talking to one of them too, and I said, well, why is a bunch of Army dogs having a conference in a Navy town?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Well,
And he goes, I asked that question too.
this guy that I was talking, his name was, I think it was Roy, or Ray or something. Anyway, he said, he says, I wish I had weather like this all the time. And I said, well, where you live, I can imagine. He says, we even brought my two daughters, or my daughter and my son-in-law with us out here. The daughter was a technician, like, when you get an IV in the hospital,
Phlebotomist.
huh?
Is it-
Anesthesiologist.
Oh,
And the son was like some high-level doctor, and I'm thinking, this guy's got some bucks if you. But it was so cool
Yeah.
to see these guys. It was really. Okay. Anything else, Riley?
No, I just wanted to know what you did on the next study session,
Oh, good
on the
question.
agenda.
We did postpone it, or we removed it, but we had already scheduled November 1st to talk about the survey.
Right.
So we're going to make that a study session
Oh,
on November
okay.
1st.
Okay, I was just curious.
Okay. I think that was the only other.
9:30.
Still
Yeah,
at 9:30.
9:30.
9:30.
We have something before that. No, we do.
That's November 1st.
Yeah,
Well, we have one. Next thing is tomorrow.
tomorrow, no, tomorrow night,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we had this. We would schedule to talk about the survey on November 1st.
Don't, you know what we have? We have, November 1st, NISDOC.
I'm sorry, we have an ISDOC meeting.
Right.
Oh, in the morning, that's at like 7 o'clock.
So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, that's why we
I
had
gotcha.
this, that's why you did it for 9:30. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Any other meetings anybody wants to mention?
Well, I think all of us went to Waco.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, I was really impressed by that Kyle Packham from the CSDA. He did a great job of
Yes,
explaining.
yes.
He actually talked too long, but
Yeah, he did.
he explained he explained everything about the special districts and what, the Little Hoover Commission wanted from the special districts. I thought he did an excellent job. And he could have kept going and going, but he ran overtime, matter of fact. Bob, do you think you had enough?
No, I wanted to report on the previous Waco meeting, which was Roy Hendon, one of the chief geologists for Orange County Water District, and he gave a very good summary of the Santa Ana River history and the dams and
Yeah, he did. That was very good.
That's when I came back and told you that the length of the...
100 miles?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the longest
I'm still-
river in California.
Yeah, I'm still
From that.
stunned by that.
I mean, that's what, and I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what he
Sounds
told us.
right.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
I
it sounds like
Googled
it's 100 miles.
it. I Googled it.
Did
Did you confirm it?
Yeah, it's not right.
It's
Oh.
not,
It
what,
is?
I think what he must have said was that starts and finishes within California or something like that.
he said it started up in Big Bear.
Yeah, it was. I did Google it at the time because I was like,
It's like
my kids.
the river that goes through Yosemite goes forever.
The San
Yeah.
Joaquin and the
San Joaquin.
Stanislaus.
Sacramento or not?
Yeah, they are.
Sacramento's a pretty long darn river.
Yeah. So those are it. Those were the ones
Those
that
are
were the
longest,
longest
right?
and stuff. But it was.
Yeah,
It did mention that one, but
Did
I'm
it?
trying to remember what it said about it. It was something real specific.
About the Santa Ana River.
Yeah, like it starts and finishes or something all in Orange County or something.
Well, it
like
starts,
Yeah,
it
starts
starts
San
in
Bernardino.
San
that. Yeah, or
it
something.
starts in
It was
San
something like
Bernardino,
that. It
goes to
started
Ocean.
and finished.
But I was commenting on what Bob said.
I think 100 miles is probably right, though.
Yeah, that's at least 100 miles.
I would think.
Far, yeah.
All right.
So you said
Any other meetings?
You already did the state
Yeah, I
of the
talked about
district? Okay.
Well, no, we haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, I mentioned it under this
Okay.
sanitation, gender report.
Three of
Oh,
us went.
I thought you were talking about tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'll get to that under comment.
Hmm.
No old business or new business. Under oral communications and director comments, just a reminder that we have a fun-filled event starting at 6 o'clock tomorrow night at the Downtown Community Center. I know Director Uten will not be with us, but
I'll
I
be eating
assume he-
Mexican food in Iowa.
Congratulations.
That may or may not be good.
It won't be good tasting. So
I'll let you.
everything's set, I assume. Microphones. The one thing that I want to make sure we have is a 3-minute timer there, because we are at the end of the meeting when we do public comments. They will be limited to 3 minutes. I'm not going to let anybody go over 3 minutes because
How long is your presentation?
probably a little over an hour.
Think so?
Probably not. Knowing me, Rob, we will get through the facts and the figures, and I think by doing the way we're doing it with public comments at the end, it'll get the information out, hopefully answer a lot of questions and comments. But there's a certain amount of the community that are going to want to get up and grandstand anyway. So
I have a question. What are we planning for attendance-wise? How many people are we setting chairs up? 50? You think we have extra chairs available?
yeah,
Because I've heard that there's going to be a lot of people attending because they're trying to push it. I mean, from, my friends. Because
Should I see we get it?
I was thinking we should have adequate seating in case more people come
Why don't we
in.
call the city, say we're hearing there's be more than 50 people there, so see if they can spare a larger room
Which
for us.
room are you in?
the big one.
Unfortunately, they do not have a larger room. I had checked already. They're
Oh.
all in use.
Oh,
So
really?
the one that we have is the largest that we can get.
We're not using the room at the stage.
No, I don't believe so.
It's probably the
We're
one
in
they
the
have
other half.
on the second and the
Yeah.
side.
We're set up for a podium, projector and screen, and 50 auditorium seating.
Okay.
Maybe if they can have some extra seating available if we need it.
They always have chairs there. I know. I've seen them at
Around the
meetings.
corner.
But tomorrow night's, I mean, in retrospect, there was nothing we could do, but there are a couple of other things going on tomorrow night, something to do with an election or something, a debate in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers will be playing again tomorrow night, so that'll appeal to certain people,
Yes.
you know.
No. Are you attending that meeting now? report?
No, I was not going to.
Yeah,
Okay.
There was discussion about this.
When we had a town hall meeting in the neighborhood community center, it was overflowing the last time.
on the organics.
Yeah.
I think if you can just check with them and see if there's
I mean,
any.
it will be videotaped, so people can't
Right.
be there. It will be on our website soon. So.
And we're not approving any business, we're just stating the state of the district.
Yeah,
No action.
President Schaefer will
Okay.
just
Okay.
he'll announce the board and other elected officials, and then go from there.
You know this one out, don't you?
That will be part of our presentation tomorrow night.
This is, okay, well. okay.
Yes, we're gonna highlight some
Is that a
things.
different one?
Is that the same one?
No, it's a different one.
It just came out,
Oh, that's different.
just came out,
They're spending a lot. They're spending a lot
But
of money
the
on this.
timing.
There's actually
The judge
now,
told them not to put out, they
If
put
you-
out again.
To
for
me,
you Facebook aficionados, there is now a Facebook page that's Yes on TT.
oh,
No.
So
well, this, I thought the judge said you can't do that. You know, on the other side, see.
Are they taking a position?
Sure, well, actually, they're talking about
No,
it.
they're
Yeah, but
out.
all this will be answered tomorrow. So this is what
it's
they
just a
always been saying.
rehash of
Yeah,
the old one.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It'll all be answered tomorrow.
Hey, inside or outside the law?
Okay, that's all I had. Anybody, any other comments? Anybody else wants to mention? Okay. No need for any closed session this evening, sir?
No, Mr. President.
And if there's no other business before us, I will adjourn the meeting to our November meeting, which will be at our new facility.
Really?
Is that right?
The regular board meeting, November 1st meeting will be here.
Yes, I'm sorry, our study session is here, but our regular board meeting will be in our new facility on November, whatever the date is.
17th.
Can we ask for an update, and have you been over there to look at what's
Go
happening?
in there tomorrow morning. I'm more than happy to join me if you want to.
Is the board meeting on November 17th?
17th, yes.
Is it Thanksgiving?
My wife's birthday?
Well, that's the
It's
chamber
okay.
breakfast.
At our age, birthdays don't mean a whole lot.
Well,
That's the chamber breakfast, November 17th, in the morning.
Take her to the breakfast.
If it's on a Thursday, I know where I'll be at 7 o'clock in the
There
morning.
was some change in the chamber.
I think that chamber breakfast got canceled. for November.
Yes, I was just gonna say the chamber had called today and said that the October breakfast is
But
canceled,
this is November.
and they've rescheduled it for November,
Oh.
at which the chamber will have its State of the Chamber address.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the rollout of their website.
Yeah, it's a
and
special
Well,
one.
few-
Can I make a comment? At our last study session, we had some representatives from the chamber attend and give a spiel about, and we never really discussed what they said to us and how we want to respond to it. So can we add that to the study session, Scott?
See if Tom wants to come and make a presentation.
No,
I don't think
because
that's
we just, no,
Just
these
have us talk.
because we
Is that all right?
never decided
Just a,
what our plan will be from their presentation, because we moved into other business. I think we need to.
Do you want that on November 1st?
If we could, I mean, I think that'd be wise, because, we
I
can't.
don't think it'd be wise at all. I think it's bad timing before an election.
We're
and
just,
to get
it's
in
not
this,
bad to discuss it. We haven't made any decisions because we haven't had an open meeting to talk about it. It's just for discussion.
Didn't you,
There'll be a
didn't you
chance.
discuss it today? No.
No.
That's what
So
I'm saying.
it'll be a chance
We
for us
haven't
to hear.
discussed it. Remember, I talked to Scott at the San Diego, and he thought we had discussed it, and I told him, I don't think we did. And Lonnie reassured me that we hadn't
No,
talked about it
we didn't
afterwards.
talk about
Because, and we haven't had a meeting since, so
Hmm.
we just need to find out how everybody reacts to what their presentation was.
okay, sounds good. And then, not only the State of the Chamber is in November?
November
So there's no
17th.
meeting,
There's
this
no
Thursday.
chamber meeting this month.
No.
then that's what I saw in my email.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then if there's no other business, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for your participation.
Thank
Hit the
you.
gavel.